gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Game, the show that covers gaming, arts, movies, electronics, and pretty much everything else that you can throw in there. I'm your host, GQ. We're going to be talking about a really good topic, whether or not certain directors, not so much that they just, bodily harm or anything, but who's getting the most hate from the fans right now because of the materials that they're dealing with. We're going to be talking about Christopher Nolan, J.J. Abrams, Michael Bay, and Bryan Singer. So if you want to get in on the conversation, email us at gameshowchat@gmail.com, follow us on Twitter, gameshowchat, and of course leave your comments in the comments section, and make sure you subscribe. But right now we got PHILL-UP, very hostile man himself, PHILL-UP, and then we got MEGASHAUN. So let's get right into it, gentlemen. Game on. Who do you think right now is the most hated director? Singer.
Because, I mean, I love X-Men, but the constant things he did with X-Men, I was like, you did Usual Suspects, classic movie. What happened with X-Men? And then the new X-Men is coming out. Granted, people say, oh, they thought First Class was awesome. I didn't think so because it shouldn't be back in the 60s. I don't want to see them back in the 60s. I want to see what's going on now. We know what happened, the origin story of the X-Men. Let's just go with the stories that's happening now. And then they're doing the Days of the Future Past. Like, why? That's the...
Well, we even talked about on one of the other shows about them kind of, stepping into something that's a little bit too big for what they can do. Yeah. Days of the Future Past was a very detailed, very long, very interesting story arc that's going to have some things that you just probably can't do very easily anyway, unless you get, a Josh Whedon or somebody in there that understands comic books. But Days of the Future Past that's a serious.
Yeah, it's serious. That should be more of an animated thing. That shouldn't be on the big screen. For the simple fact, you can tell the story more in an animated movie than actual live action, because they're going to cut some things out, and the characters are not going to be the same, evidently, because it's in the 60s. And they jump in whatever future timeline they're supposed to be jumping into. It doesn't really mesh well with it, because we all know it was Kitty Pryde, and not who was it supposed to be in the movie?
I couldn't even tell you. Now, as much information is out there about that, because Bryan Singer's tweeting about which janitor they just hired to sweep up the set, and telling you everything. I honestly don't know though. Who's the main linchpin for Days of Future Past as far as this new one? But MEGASHAUN over here, he's stewing. He seems like he got somebody he wants to talk about, or at least make mention of, that he thinks is getting some hatred from his fans or the fan base of various storylines and various characters.
Christopher Nolan, to me, he is the embodiment of flagrant disregard for, in my opinion, comic book respect. And that's not even my opinion, but just from what I'm seeing, in different forums around the net. Just because this realistic portrayal of a character who, for the most part, is already pretty realistic. Batman doesn't have any powers. His family was murdered. Other people handle death differently than others. In regards to him, he goes, does his walking with cane situation. So he goes from continent to continent, studying different forms of combat and just different techniques. And then eventually comes back, he's honed skills as a detective, which is nowhere in any of the Batman films. He's honed multiple styles of martial arts combat, and you see him brawling in the middle of the street. This is the man who I'm not even sure if I've even seen Batman during the day. I've seen Bruce Wayne. I'm not even sure if I've even seen Batman during the day, and here he is out having a slugfest with somebody who's shorter than he is.
Okay, so we're talking about Tom Hardy's Bane, who, as we all know, Tom Hardy is about, 5'10", 5'...
Something like that.
Where's the serum?
Yeah.
Where is the serum?
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Okay. Where is the serum? He was wounded so bad, saving, mind you, this is a grown man in a hole who's in his 20s, possibly. Mm-hmm. There's this 7-year-old child whom he saves, and in that time is hurt so badly that he needs this mask to live. So what I'm trying to figure out is, who made the mask in this cell? How was he able to sustain life from the time his injury happened to the time they made him the suit.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that
fair
makes
enough. I mean, and again, you know, it goes back to biting off more than you can chew. They kind of brought together a couple of different storylines for that last
Right.
Batman film, and that probably was their downfall.
Yeah.
Nightfall, I mean, I was going to go out and buy the Nightfall, compiled book, and I thought it was just going to be one book. That's like 2 or 3 books,
Right.
you know. And I'm like, hold on, wait, we're talking thick books,
Right,
like
exactly.
War and Peace thick. You know, it's like, wait a minute, this is a lot of content that you're trying to push into one little,
Movie,
2-hour
right.
movie.
I just think that people get a certain level of clout or respect, which is deserved, in regards to Memento and The Prestige and some of his other projects. So I understand that. But I think with any director, whether it's Singer, Abrams, and then Michael Bay, I just think you still have to have respect for the source material, which he doesn't really seem to. You don't really need to do all this other elaborate stuff.
Right.
Just follow those 100 or 1,000 or so books.
And even with Michael Bay, Bad Boys, his earlier work, which was classic stuff. The Transformers, everybody hated Transformers. I like Transformers.
And you're a Transformers fan.
I'm a Transformers fan. Granted, certain things I was like, but just to see those Autobots and Decepticons on screen was good. I liked it. It didn't deter anything that much from the 80s style of Transformers. It put new stuff and old stuff, but it was still good. I still liked it. I enjoyed watching it. The third one really just made me go, wow.
Well, to me, the third one had a lot of nods in there for the
Yeah.
series fans,
Yes.
for the fans like you, and myself, and Sean. I understand you like Transformers. I mean, there was some things in there that if you're sitting there watching it and then you watch the animated movie, it's like, he stuck that in there
And
real quick.
That's what I liked about Transformers. The whole thing he did, he put some kind of nod from the 80s series, the G1, into the movie. And a lot of people may not saw it, but you got to be a fan to know, point out where the certain connotation of whatever's from the 80s.
Okay, so Bay's hatred might not be well deserved.
Nah,
Not
it's
at all.
not,
And
I don't
even
think so.
think Abrams would be that.
But now Abrams is he's stepping into something that I think
with Star Wars.
he's stepping into something no man should have to do. He's doing not just Star Wars, he's already
Trek.
done Star
Star
Trek.
Trek.
So you're dealing with 2 of the biggest sci-fi franchises of all time, and you're juggling them both.
Yeah.
Now, granted, my personal dislike of some of Abrams' work, because I like most of his movies, I like them all for the most part. His lens flares. This man
his lens flares.
went to After Effects and found the lens flare plugin is like favorite.
Yeah.
And only uses the lens flare plugin. So it's like he goes crazy with the lens flares.
Thing about Abrams is I like his work. I've not really seen much of mine. Star Trek. I like Star Trek. Super 8, I saw that for the first time. I was like, this was a good concept. Cloverfield, I wasn't too big fan of, but like you said, the lens flare was in there, but that's not going.
Anybody was a fan of Cloverfield.
You got people who are Abrams fans, and they were just like, oh, it was the greatest movie. I'm like, because it takes back the old Godzilla thing. I'm like, no, I'm sticking with Godzilla, simple as that.
The interesting thing is, though, Abrams actually was the guy that wrote Armageddon, and of course, Michael Bay directed
Right.
Armageddon,
Yeah.
and I liked Armageddon. Armageddon was
Armageddon
very,
was good,
it was an interesting movie. They had a great cast: Bruce Willis, Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Affleck fan, but even he was, palpable in that movie.
As long as he's not in Daredevil.
Yeah, get him out of that red suit, please. That man cannot play a superhero.
I don't think that was a suit, number one. That was just some paint they put on his body.
So the main thing would be, criticism-wise, would be just probably between Nolan and Singer, whereas in Bay and Abrams, it's a matter of, well, I don't know what he's going to do with the Star Wars situation, but
Or Turtles.
but just a matter of, lens flares and things like that, mechanics.
Yeah,
but not a disrespect to the.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but we want you people that are watching this show to get in on this discussion, because we know some of you people out there hate Bay. Some people hate Abrams, some people hate Nolan, and some of you guys out there probably hate Singer more than Philip without his hostility. Gentlemen,
I don't hate him.
game over.
I don't hate the guy.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally?
Give me a pack of tropical fruit bubblicious.
And some Skittles.